Wonderful. Okay. Now back. Good. All right. We're returning now to, I hope we'll complete the the Dvar Malchut that we've been doing the whole week. And like I said last time, I mean, I'm just explaining my excuses. Yesterday was there were a lot of technical problems. And so we only did a little bit of one class. But now we just finished the Torah, or what we wanted to. That was the last class. And now we're going to try, with God's help, to complete the Dvar Malchut. Dvar Malchut is a speech given by Lubavitcher Rebbe in the end of 1991, and it's talking about Moshiach, which should be the main topic, which is really the main topic of Judaism, is Moshiach, and how Moshiach is going to fix up the world. And the Rebbe explains over here a very interesting thing about France. Now, France, first of all, let's not forget, which I did forget, let's give charity. Giving charity is that the Jews will be redeemed with charity, and the whole world will be redeemed with charity. And charity even stops death, even from death and all the bad things. So here we go, charity. Very easy to do. Everyone should have a charity box in their house, by the way. And the Rebbe said that you should try, if you can, to have in every room a charity box, and it should be, if possible, joined to the wall. In other words, it should be part of the not just the furniture, it should be part of the walls of your house. Okay, here we go. Here's a picture of the first Rebbe of Chabad, right? Picture of the first Rebbe of Chabad. First Rebbe of Chabad made a big war against France. And France was, up to now, France is a shadow of its former self, but France used to be the main power in the world, and especially it was a spiritual power, if you want to call it, an anti-spiritual power, if anything. And the war of the Alter Rebbe against France was very, very similar to the war against the Greeks in Hanukkah. The big danger of the Greeks to Judaism was a spiritual one. The Greeks had philosophy, and they had culture. I don't know if there's left any music of the Greeks over there, but there are plays of the Greeks, and there's statues that they made. Greeks, they were very big into culture, into pleasure seeking, into philosophy, and they won over the Jews. We'll talk about this later, but according to the Torah, and the Rebbe brings this out, like 99% of the Jews became Hellenized. When the battle of Hanukkah, there were only, 13 Jews against tens of thousands of Greeks. That's how it started. And maybe afterwards, obviously, Jews joined them. But it started off only 13 Jews. The Maccabees were 13. And they warred against tens of thousands. Where was all the rest of the Jews? The rest of the Jews, they were, complicit, to say the least, and excited, happy partners with the Greeks. They loved Greek culture. They loved the Greek culture, and they loved the Greek philosophies, and especially they loved the Greek freedom. You could just do what you wanted. And that was a big thing with Napoleon, with the French in general, was have a good time, have a good time, be free. There's no restrictions, no meaning in life. The famous French philosophers, existentialist philosophers, just right now, very recently, right? That there's no meaning in life. You just do it. You have to make up your own meaning. You have to figure it out. Life is meaningless. You have to do. Was a big French theme. The French life. So the first Rebbe of Chabad was very against France, to the degree that when Napoleon fought against the Tsar, now the Tsar, that was the church. They were like fanatic, Russian Orthodox. And the first Rebbe of Chabad, he helped the Tsar. And all the other great leaders of Judaism, they helped Napoleon. They loved Napoleon. Napoleon promised equality and liberty and fraternity. That fraternity part was just, that was a death blow to Judaism. Intermarry, what do you hear? The Jew, not, it makes no difference. While the Tsar was the opposite. The Tsar made a very big difference between Jews and everybody else, right? Everybody else, the Jews, they were the enemy of the people, but they were separate. And Napoleon said, no, why be separate? Let's be friends. Let's be nice. In any case, the first Rebbe of Chabad was very, very against France. And France was the leading spirit of atheism in the world. And how being an atheist works and how it's good and it's successful and you'll be happy and you'll be pleased and you'll be fulfilled in your life if you just do whatever you want. And like Napoleon, I mean, a little tiny bit of history I know, it really works in the beginning. It works great. Like Napoleon, he won battle after battle, but after a while, it didn't come out so good, right? It didn't come out so good. They put him into exile. He made a comeback, an amazing comeback, and that also didn't work. Okay, so says the Rebbe, the job of Judaism is to defeat France. When you defeat France, you've defeated your biggest enemy. You defeated France. And I mean, I don't know if it's coincidentally, but the spirit of France, of anti-God, was really accepted in Germany. Germany, then, that they took the banner of anti-Judaism, anti-Semitism, and it grew and it grew and it grew more. But it began really to a very great degree with what's called the Maskilim. The Maskilim, they were the Jews, and a lot of them had been religious Jews, and they took the atheism of France and they really, they brought it to Berlin and to this places, and it made tremendous damage to Judaism. Thousands, tens of thousands, even hundreds of thousands of Jews just left Judaism because they had good reason to do so. We're in exile and we've been waiting for Moshiach for 2,000 years. He's not coming. How do you say? Be real. It's not going to happen. Judaism is just a thing of the past. It's not, just that. The ideal is be like the Germans, be like the France, which you see, that these people were not really fit, how do you say, examples for life. But okay, but that's nevertheless how it happened. So that was the big battle. So what are we supposed to do? How do we defeat France? So maybe you think, well, to ignore it. Just ignorant is one point, but that's not the job of Judaism. The job of Judaism is to transform. That was the thing of Yaakov and Esav. Yaakov did not want to kill his brother or defeat him. He wanted to transform him. And it's taken 3,000 years since that, 3,800 whatever years since that meeting between Yaakov and Esav, and to finally start transforming. Comes along the Rebbe Lubavitch, and he says, it's finished. We've done all the work. Everything has to be done. Why, in fact, the total redemption has not arrived. The Rebbe said the previous Lubavitcher Rebbe, he is the Moshiach. And of course, the Rebbe was referring to himself. He is the, how do you say, the replacement for the previous Rebbe. If you can't replace him, but he's now doing the job of the Rebbe. So the Rebbe is essentially saying that he is the Moshiach as well. And the Moshiach said, why are we still in exile? Says the Rebbe, I have absolutely no idea. But I'm going to tell you that even France has been transformed. And France is the numerical value of 770. And France, that's the address of the Chabad headquarters in New York. And France is also the same letters as Paratsta, Ufaratsta, to spread out. With the reign in our generation especially, let's see if we can get this thing over. There we go. Is also added another thing, like we said, that the moon is full. What does it mean? The month of Kislev. Why? It's known that the first letters of this year, the Rebbe was speaking, this is the year of Niflot Bo. Okay, but our year is not Niflot, it's Plaot. This is Pei, Hey, or Pei, Hey. So it's Niflot, Pei, is Plaot. Plaot. Bo, maybe you can say afterwards, Plaot, Hagdolot or something. Anyway, it's an amazing year. So the Rebbe said in the year Tafshin Nun Beit began tremendous miracles. That was when the Iron Curtain fell. It fell the year before. And when they defeated Iraq, miraculously shot all these 39 huge, powerful missiles at Israel, and everyone was afraid. And the Rebbe said, there's absolutely nothing to be afraid of. Israel is the safest place in the world. No one agreed with him, and the Rebbe was right, and everyone else was wrong. Israel was the safest place in the world for Jews. And in fact, the big rockets he shot didn't do anything. So big miracles were happening. Big miracles were happening. Well, I think we can, let's see, maybe we can skip this over because it's talking about this. Anyway, big miracles were happening. Says the Rebbe, and this year itself, the moon is full, the third month of the year. When the moon is full, that's in the 15th of the month. So it says this is the completion of the 3 months of the winter months. The first of the winter months. When the winter begins is Tishrei, and then Cheshvan, and now we are in Kislev. Kislev, that's the 3 times is a chazaka. That we are now near the 3rd day of the 3rd month. The Rebbe spoke this, was on the 3rd day of Kislev. This is the giving of the Torah of Chassidut. Yutet Kislev was when the Torah was given. And if you remember, the Rebbe spoke earlier that the second half of the month, when the moon gets smaller, but the date keeps getting bigger to indicate that there's something sort of an increase in the second half of the month. And the Jewish people, they count according to the moon. So when the moon gets smaller, it should be the Jews it's a bad sign. And it should be less, but we see that the date gets bigger and bigger. So the Rebbe said, yes, the revelation of the moon is less, but the essence of the moon is increased. The external revelation goes away, but the essence is there. Like if you want to look at the sun through you have to bring some sort of a dark sunglasses, and then you can look at the sun. But you see the sun itself because of the darkness. Says the Rebbe, that's the second half of the moon. The second half of the month, the moon gets darker, but it's because we're not looking at the light anymore. We're looking at the moon itself, the essence of the moon. And it says that in the beginning of the creation, that the light of the moon was as bright as the sun. And that's what it means. That's what we're experiencing now. Yud Tet Kislev comes in the second half of the month, which is unlike any of the other holidays in Judaism except for Hanukkah, because the essence of the sun is being revealed. The essence of the moon, in this case, but the moon is going to be like the sun. It says the light of the moon will be the light of the sun. Okay, let's just go a little bit, because that was a year that was a full year. It was a year with an extra month. So that this year doesn't apply to this year. Here we go. The main thing is deed, what we should do, what we should actually do. And now we are coming Erev Shabbat. We are the Rebbe is preparing for next Shabbat. So he says, when the next Shabbat comes and we are preparing for the moon, the full moon, which this will be drawn down also into Motzei Shabbat, will be Tu B'Kislev. Okay, the dates weren't the same as the dates of this year. The dates are the same. What was it? Okay, nevertheless, says the Rebbe, after the middle of the month, that we should, when the essence of the moon is more and more revealed, we should make forbringans. They have to be forbringans, Chassidic forbringans, every place in the world that we can. Every country, in every city, in every neighborhood, not just big, huge forbringans, official Chabad meetings. That there should be one in every single, big one, but also every single place that you can, including also even every home, you should make a forbringing. In other words, a get together, a Hasidic get together. Sing. What does it mean? You sing songs. If they talk about God, you talk about Judaism, you talk about Hanukkah, you talk about Yutet Kislev, you talk about the Rebbe's, you talk about our service of the Creator, how close Moshiach is. Positive things. Not in just a way that one person is speaking, one person and everybody listens, but also that can be one big place. but it has to be that everyone participates. By means of this, we'll add on even more and more places, and people will be jealous of one another, which there's a good type of jealousy. The good type of jealousy is that you see somebody else does something good, and you become jealous of that. You also want to do something good. There's bad jealousy that you see somebody do something good, you want him to stop doing it, or you want that there shouldn't be any good in the world at all. You just become depressed or whatever. There's a good type of jealousy. You see someone doing something good and say, wow, I can do that. I want to do that. Until that everyone, everyone becomes the center of, how do you say, of influence, positive influence on everyone around him. Until the main thing, the center of the center, that you don't have to be always dependent on getting inspiration from others. You can be the one that inspires. Since you yourself, like the moon, instead of having to receive, you yourself, you can inspire other people to do good things. Now you might think, how am I going to do that? How am I going to receive? So the answer is, listen, learn from other people, look and see what other people do, and then try. You see, so make mistakes. That's okay to make mistakes. It's better to make mistakes than not to do anything at all. Not do anything, that's the biggest mistake of all. So you try, you see, but you get there with other people. Participate. Say a word, say a thought. Be helpful, be positive. You're not a good speaker. Bring the food. You'd be surprised. I've been a lot of Farbringans. I mean, I was in a yeshiva. I was like one of the heads of a yeshiva. So there was all sorts of boys that came. And a lot of times there would come boys that would stammer. They would be, very ashamed. They would stutter. They would stammer. And, usually they didn't want to speak because they figured they were boring everybody. Maybe people would make fun of them. And that's what they figured. So their thoughts and their feeling of inferiority or incompetence, whatever they want to, that was the biggest enemy. And in fact, people had patience. So I would encourage them to speak. These fellows, I would encourage them to speak. And they would speak. And a lot of fellows, they thought that they were stupid and they couldn't say things like this. Say something. What do you care? So they would stammer. And when they would finish, they would look around. They would see that nobody cared. Nobody cared if they stammered. So instead of what the message they had to say would take 10 seconds, so it took 30 seconds. But people would listen. Because that the pressure was taken off. And a lot of times you see that people have good positive things to say. And people, not only that, it teaches everyone else around you to be human. You don't have to be the boss all the time, right? So it comes out that the moon, the receiver, it becomes a giver because you yourself become one that can contribute. You can contribute to others. Therefore, it is, I say, proper and good that every single person, if they can, should make some sort of a hitvadut, a meeting. They call it a farbringen, a gathering, a get-together. And how much, even more, make 3 of them. 3 times it says as chazaka, 3 times is like a supposition that's going to continue with yourself, namely with all the 10 powers of your soul, with your family, with your friends, with your acquaintances, in order to stress even more that each person can be a mashpia. Each person can be an influencer. And why are you doing it? You're doing it because the Rebbe wants you to do it. The Rebbe says you could do it. Who am I? I'm not going to speak. I don't want to be in the center. Okay, you're nothing, but the Rebbe says you have to do it. You have to give over to other people. You have to contribute. It's just like the moon, how the moon is going to be full. Instead of receiving from the sun all the time in the future, the moon is going to be the one that's going to be the giver. It'll be the source of light. That's what it says. Heishiv lev avonos, that God will return the heart of the fathers. Heishiv lev avot al habanim, to the sons, by means of the sons. The lev habanim al avot says that the fathers will return to the sons, and the sons will return to the fathers. What does it mean? A lot of times the family is religious and the son leaves. It doesn't want anything to do with it. Right? But God will make a big miracle and the hearts of the children will come back to the parents. A lot of times it's exactly the opposite. The children, they become observant Jews and the parents want nothing to do with it. What are you talking about? The parents come from a communist background or from a non-religious background, and they got no desire. They see that the children are religious. The children bring their parents to be more active in Judaism. So sometimes it's the parents that they're the influencers, and sometimes the children, they're the influencers. But in any case, you have to be an influence. You have to be like the moon, the essence of the moon that eventually will shine like the sun. And this, for bringing us, what should you do when you make these get-togethers with all of your friends? What you should do? There should be an arousal. Each person should talk to his friend and add on. This would be one of the topics that you talk about. Adding on in Torah, learning Torah, avoda, adding on in prayer, understanding the words of the prayers and praying with your heart as well, and gemilat chasadim, and giving charity, giving charity in money, a good word, even a good thought. Like the rabbis say, Pada b'shalom nafshi, when the first Rebbe of Chabad got out of prison, it was Yutet Kislev. The Rebbe used to read, used to say by heart the 5 books of Psalms. There's 150 Psalms that are divided. Also, one of the ways they're divided into 5 books. And he got out on Tuesday. The first that you read on Tuesday, on Yom Shlishi, is Pada b'shalom nafshi. It's in that Psalm number 55. It says that Pada b'shalom nafshi, that God redeemed my soul in peace. In other words, the first Rebbe of Chabad was in prison. He could have been killed any moment, and he was there for 53 days. And miraculously, he got out in peace. Pada b'shalom nafshi. The Midrash says, what's that got to do with us? It says anyone who learns Torah, learns Torah, even a little bit, but a little bit more than what he wants to, working at the Torah, and he gives charity, and he prays with a congregation. Malani, says God, I treat him, I give him the credit as though he redeemed me and my sons from exile. When the Jews are in exile, God is in exile. And even more, and this is the main thing, not as though you redeemed me from the exile, but in fact, when you increase learning Torah, even one Jew, even you give a little more charity. When you pray, you do it with a little more enthusiasm and understanding. You personally tilt the scales to take the Jews and consequently God out of exile. That's what it says. But Paul Mamish actually, and especially the Tekef Miyad, that immediately, now when we, at the end of this Farbrengen that the Rebbe is giving, on Shabbat, he gave it on Shabbat, even before we pray Mincha, it should be the request of Yaakov, B'Shem v'Avor, in the name of and for the sake of every single Jew, the Yeshiv B'Shalva. Says Yaakov wanted to sit in peace and just do positive things instead of warring with his brother Esav and his uncle Lavan and all the problems that he had. Yaakov, and the problems his son Yosef was taken into being prisoner, and they didn't know where he was. And then there was a big famine, and said all the troubles that Yaakov had his whole entire life. All Yaakov wanted was there should be an end to the troubles and that he could just do good things. Said that the Rebbe, may it be that now Jacob's requests should be answered. We read the Paul Begillah actually and revealed. Since even before this, we've already, this says the Rebbe's, the time has already arrived that Olu Moshiach Bahar Tzion Lishporetz Harisav Vayisol Hashem Malucha, that the ones that are saved, the Jewish people, should go to the mountain of Zion in Israel, and they will judge the mountain of Esav, and then God will be the ruler over the whole world. The world will only want to do good. then it'll be Ach Tzadikim Yerushmecha. This is what we say in the end of our prayers all the time. We add on these sentences. Ach Tzadikim Yeshvu V'techa, that the righteous Jews will sit. Ach Tzadikim Yerushmecha Yeshvu will know your name, and the honest people will sit before you. When will we sit in front of God? What does that mean? In the third temple, the Beit HaMikdash Shlishi, and then we will make a big forbringing of Chanukah, real Chanukah, the inauguration of the third temple. B'mamad Kol Yisrael, according to Judaism, according to Chabad, there's another opinion that we'll build the third temple, but it seems that the Rambam is saying there will be the third temple, but the Rebbe explains, no, we'll just build a part of it. The third temple will bring up the main doors, whatever, and all the rest will fall down. Mikdash Hashem Koner De'adecha, that the third temple will come from heaven. It's already ready. I don't know where it is, but it's already ready, coming down from heaven. It says, even before the days of Hanukkah, that we should be able to celebrate Hanukkah in the third temple, said the Rebbe. The Rebbe was speaking, and he said, even before the prayer of Mincha and Shabbat, the Rebbe, which was going to be in another 5 minutes, the Rebbe said the third temple can come down, and that's it. In the days of Hanukkah, we will even add more in the true redemption, going from strength to strength and seeing God in Tzion. In Tzion means in Jerusalem. Tzion means Israel. Tzion means the Jewish people. However it is, everyone will see and feel that they're being created and that the Creator loves us. Every human being, we're being created from love. That's what it means, that the earth, the physical world, like, will shine godliness. Everything will shine godliness. You'll see that everything in the world is an amazing gift, an amazing miracle, and also sending us a message of what our responsibility is to God and how much power and ability we have to fulfill it with tremendous joy. That's the idea of Moshiach now. Wonderful. Now, let us do the Yom Yom. Missed the Yom Yoms also. Here we go. And recording.